Hello and welcome back to Linux Panic YouTube channel. In this video we're going to be going over what is wrong with Ubuntu in the past and present and what can be done to fix it. But first, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. I'd like to say that this video is sponsored by me, Nick Matthews, where you can go to my Redbubble store and get pictures of my stuff on your stuff. You can have a look at pictures I've taken or get this fancy little tux pseudo thing pasted on pictures of your stuff. Want to have a look? I'll leave a link in the description below. So you're probably wondering, Nick, why are you upset about Linux? About Ubuntu specifically? Well, as much as good as Ubuntu is in the world and as nice as it is, it's not really been the knight in shining armor that the Linux world has wanted it to be. As you may notice here, in this little tabby here, there's something from the Electronic Frontier Foundation that I found out whilst researching this video. Ubuntu hasn't always been clear about how it goes about collecting data, sharing data, and how it goes through. So you know how currently Windows 10 and 11 is when you search for something in the search bar and it goes, hey, I'll give you something from the internet instead? Yeah, Ubuntu did that first back in 2012. Well, specifically, Canonical, the people who develop Ubuntu and basically own Ubuntu. Basically, what they were doing is, yeah, I'm going to have to scroll through that. Basically, what they were doing is whenever you search for something, it searched for local files and the internet, but not just any specific part of the internet. It searched towards Amazon. So what it would do, it was send your search requests to a Canonical server, apparently anonymize it, and send it onto an Amazon server. And then the Amazon server would then give it back to the Ubuntu server, and the Ubuntu server would then give it back to you. Take multiple steps, but apparently in the steps in between the Amazon and the Ubuntu servers, it was being sent over HTTP and not HTTPS. So anyone that was sniffing your network or sniffing anything in between could go, what is this person looking for based off what Amazon's giving back? Now, this isn't a problem anymore, and it's a good thing. However, this was something that did happen. It shouldn't have happened. It's happening now in Windows. It really shouldn't happen. As, of course, we can see here, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is a well-known foundation for privacy and the such, did an article back on this back in October 29th, 2012. I've seen many other articles about this and just general news about it, and I can confirm that, yeah, this was a thing. This was a rather poor thing that Amazon brought up. And Canonical actually, well, not Canonical, the Electronic Frontier Foundation gave you a way to go through it. But it was there by default. It shouldn't be. Like, data capturing is still there by default up until the point you disable it after install, which is rather ridiculous if you ask me. So, Ubuntu hasn't exactly had the greatest of history with software, for example. Let's move on. Let's actually, as we're talking about software, let's look at some software. As you may have seen in my previous videos I've done on Ubuntu, I have shown you how to install Wine 7.0 or higher. I'll stick a little thing up here in the top right hand corner to just show off videos. But basically, if you just do a basic install of Wine, this is what you get. You get a repack for Ubuntu as version 6.3. But if we go to Wine HQ, we see that this is not the current version. Like, I know part of the appeal of Ubuntu is being stable software, nice and stable, so it'll work 100% of the time. There's a difference between being stable and being up to date. Right now, Ubuntu is doing neither. Well, you could argue that they're being stable, and you're more than welcome to do so. However, they're not being up to date. They are currently generations of software behind. Canonical, the people who make Ubuntu and people who then piggyback off the versions of Ubuntu, aren't currently using Wine 7.0. I am using Jammy Jellyfish, as you can tell by the little desktop thing here. And if I do neofetch, you can see this is Ubuntu 22.04. So why isn't Canonical using the latest versions of Wine? The late version 7 of Wine was released whilst 22 was in the works. There was release candidates for version 7, and then along came version 7 before the final versions of Ubuntu came out. Final versions of Ubuntu 22 came out. But here we are. Like, it's not up to date. It's not there. It should be. It's just not right. We'll have a look at something I've done here. I did a install using this virtual machine here. I cloned it, and I can prove this to you because I can open up a new task in the tab in the terminal and do neofetch. Over type, and we can see there is no neofetch because I've done a clean install. This is a clean install. Do you want to know what's stupid about it? I told Ubuntu to install updates upon install. Like, download updates, install them upon the main install process. Where did these 270 updates come from? Like, where did all these packages come from? This is not what I said. When I ask an installer to install latest updates upon installing, you would expect to see latest packages installed when installing. See, they can't even get this like full checkbox here. Like, this isn't. It doesn't even it doesn't make sense. There shouldn't be this, oh, we'll install it after the fact. No, you tell it to install when you install. You tell it, so hey, look, I want to download these updates. You expect it to install when it installs. But it didn't. There's no reason for that. So I will do it myself now. I will install the update now. Of course, this is taking as long as it does. It's just getting all the things from Ubuntu. As we can see, 230 packages. Where did that come from? I told this to install the packages upon, and somehow that migrates into 538 meg. But that's not. This isn't what this is telling me. It's stuff like this. Like, yes, this might add up to 538 meg, but it's not what I asked. When I installed this, I asked it to install everything. And you know what came after me asking it to install everything, including the proprietary drivers, including all the bells and whistles, all the software, all of this? It came to the dreaded, hey, look, do you want to send any data to Canonical? Do you want to send your location to the Canonical? I didn't. But you know what it did? It captured data anyway. It sent it anyway, because it does that until you tell it no. This isn't what the ethos of Linux is. Linux is free, open source, safe, and secure. Granted, things are becoming less and less secure as the days go by, as more people seek to find ways into Linux and find ways into specific variations and find ways to make life hell. We have to accept this fact. As the days and months and years go by, things become less and less secure. It is up to the people, the users, to be proactive about security and make sure things are secure. If we look here, for example, it's using kernel 5.15. If we look for the Linux kernel, if I can spell kernel correctly, and come here, we're currently at version 5.18, and that's the stable version. Granted, it was released yesterday, but The one before that is 5.15, which was again updated yesterday. So it's not being kept up to date. Like things like this, it's not there. It's not right. Granted, I appreciate what Linux or what Manjaro, not Manjaro, what Ubuntu does. I appreciate how it keeps things alive, but at the same time, it's not there. It's behind, and because it's behind, it's not exactly the most secure. It's not the fastest. It doesn't work as well with other software, as we could see here. Like Wine isn't there. It's looking at Wine specifically. It's over a generation behind according to the development packages. That isn't right. It doesn't make any sense. But there we go. Canonical don't want updated. But yeah, that's on Canonical. Yeah, it's kind of stupid, but at the same time, when it comes to people making editorials and news and releases on Manjaro Ubuntu, they aren't exactly there. Not the smartest. Just look at this Profilus.com. It's filled with fucking adverts. You wouldn't want to read this website. This advert appears multiple times in between each article, and just big banner right here. No, this isn't in line with the Linux way of doing things. It's just no. Like, it works on a range of devices or computing platforms. Yet so does Manjaro, so does Arch, so does Debian, so does RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise, so does OpenSUSE, so does everything else that is designed to run on a computer. So does macOS, so does Windows. macOS might not work on a range of devices, but so what? The point of an operating system is to work on what it's put on, except for OS X. That's just Apple being Apple. Apple can do whatever the hell they want. They've made it. More power to them. They can do whatever they want. Like it says it's a well-rounded operating system for desktop computing. Like, yeah, it does its job as you need it to. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. But at the same time, limited functionality. Like, you can't have it both ways. It either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, tell me why, and don't tell me it does work in the same article. You are giving mixed messages. This is a common theme with people who make Linux editorials. It is saying, oh yeah, this is wonderful and fantastic, and it works. But also, it doesn't work. Everything I just said is a lie. No. Problems about software and hardware compatibility. Unless you live in a hole in the ground, you are aware that a lot of the big manufacturers of hardware, include drivers for their hardware in the Linux kernel. That is a key thing. And because of that, we have working things. Everything AMD just works, because you know why? AMD include drivers for their software, drivers for their hardware in the Linux kernel. That's why wireless adapters just work, because the drivers are, say it with me, in the Linux kernel. Things work better because they're in the Linux kernel, or they are a downloadable package you can just pop onto your computer and it works. What do you mean? And this one's just saying, oh look, there are better Linux alternatives. This isn't the point. This article is supposed to be about advertising this particular variation. Ubuntu. Yeah, it can't seem to get this right. Like, everyone's trying to commercialize open source at this point. Just get over it. Now we'll look at 7 things Ubuntu does better than Windows. Have a scroll down right quick and just come down here and say, it's free. So is Windows. I will say this to you right here and now. Windows is free if you don't want to customize it. That is it. That's it. That's all it is. If you don't want to customize it and you don't want to have access to the pro features such as a remote desktop or Hyper-V or any of that, Windows is free. It is. Go get a Windows ISO, get the Windows 10 ISO from the Microsoft website, stick it on a USB, and install it somewhere. You know what you get? You get a free operating system, free of charge. You can turn off as much as you want. You can remove as much as the adverts as you want. But guess what? It's still free. Because Microsoft doesn't sell to the singular person. That's why you can get keys for absolutely nothing if you wanted to. They sell to the big companies. They sell to the likes of IBM, HP, fucking Toshiba, Acer, what have you. All of these big manufacturers of computing devices, because they sell to them because they know they can get the money for the devices. They will sell big master keys and what have you to them. The fact that people, this article from Make Use Of is saying, oh, Windows isn't free. Windows is free. Of course it's free. Like free downloads of Windows 10 haven't expired. It's free. Yeah, so is Ubuntu. Ubuntu's free as well. But you could also pay for some features for Ubuntu if you want to do, but no, you don't have to. So Linux can run in a, Ubuntu can run in a live environment. Whoopie-doo. So can literally every other version of Ubuntu, of Linux. It's slower on system resources. So is literally every other version of Linux. The only times Windows isn't hard on the components is when it's good components, like 32 gigs of RAM, like my system, or a mid-range CPU, like an Ryzen 5 3600, like I use. I know it works because it does. The fact that it says, "Oh look, a Linux is so much safer than Windows," it's safe if you know what you're doing. That's the key. If you know what you're doing, it's safe. But in this case, it just glosses over the fact that if you give something root permission, that shouldn't have root permission. Whoever's just scooting around the internet and just dorking things, for example, through Google, and you've left something open. If someone sees this and goes, I can get access to that, you're screwed. Like, the security argument is nullified if you don't cover all the bases. And oh look, you can do the updates to the software updater. It doesn't tell you what's there. It doesn't tell you each individual package. If it does, it's not right. It might not be right. Updates of managed file repositories. So is literally everything else for every other bit of software, because they don't just come from. They're all software updates for literally everything. Since the dawn of computing, unless it's been on a floppy disk, a CD, or any other form of like physical media, it is being stored in a singular place. It's being stored in a software repository of some sort, whether it's a master server, whether it's a GitHub repository. Everything has been updated via software repositories since as long as it has been able to do so. Yeah, like stuff like this. Ubuntu takes a different approach. Installations and updates are managed by repositories. How do you think you get the updates for Windows or Mac OS? You don't get them via disk. You don't get them via USB. You don't get them via bloody carrier pigeon. It comes via software update from a software repository for a specific server region for where you are. North America, EU, Asia, Africa, South America, North America. It just does that. And this is why is Ubuntu, and we'll move on to why is Ubuntu getting so much hate. We've moved from the good to the bad. Why is Ubuntu getting so much hate? Because it's just, this is old stuff. This is covering old hardware. You see this? This is Ubuntu 12 interface. This is going over the issue that I've already mentioned. This is an old issue, which, as it shows here, data collection is still there until you turn it off. See, show the first report, it still captures data. And it just goes over like, oh, what's wrong? It's using old. It's showing old, which doesn't affect how it's used now. And yeah, it talks about the Snap repository, which is unfortunately the back end of Snap is controlled by Canonical. It's proprietary, which goes against the ethos of Linux, which I'm sure Linus Torvalds feels greatly upset about. But at the same time, it's just this Ubuntu defeats some of the core things about Linux and why things need to be done differently. Ubuntu could fix these things by making everything they do open source, getting rid of the Snap store, because Snap ignores it can ignore some of your system themes, some of your system settings. It can be slow, from what I know and what I in my research. It can be slower. It can take longer. Things aren't as updated. You can only things inside Snap repositories and Snap software is restricted in ways it isn't if you just installed it natively. Things aren't how they should be. Things are slower. Things are lesser. Canonical can go a long, long way of making Ubuntu its own thing again. Because just look here, for example. What does this remind you of? You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of OS X. You know what part of OS X this reminds me of? This reminds me of the three windows closing tool. You can see it here. I will pop up an image here of like the little like buttons to use to close the window in OS X. That's what it reminds me of. It's stupid. Canonical has a long way to go to get back to being their own thing again, because right now they're just copying the rest of the industry. That is not how you go about being your own piece and bringing to the world what you originally were. You were a unique bit of software that did your own thing, and now you're just going with the herd. Canonical has a long way to go to go back to being what it was, and that's not gonna come quick. It's gonna take years for Canonical to turn themselves around, either go back to what they were, or just nosedive into the ground. And at this rate, we don't know how this is gonna go. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, maybe consider subscribing. Give that a like a tickle and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. I'd like to thank you for listening to this rant here today. I have been Nick, you have been amazing, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.